Welcome to Podcasting What I Mean, hosted by Bonita Cornute and Loren. I'm Amin. Meet me at the Muny in Forest Park. On today's show, we have guest Kwofe Coleman. He literally started from the bottom, and now he's here, president and CEO of the Muny at Forest Park. Hey, he's a good example of what hard work and a good mentor can do for you. So, without further ado, please listen to this wonderful conversation with Kwofe Coleman on Podcasting What I Mean.
He was an astronaut too. Director of Marketing and Communication and Managing Director.
Stop it, Loren. Yeah, he was an astronaut.
My goodness.
Where's my spaceship? Your discomfort with my appearance does not disqualify me from doing this job.
Ooh, I like that.
But not until...
Your nose is growing. Wait a minute.
No, you got me sweating. We didn't steal it. Right? People gave us $100 million because they believe in the future of the institution. And
I hope you kids out there hear that. He had a mentor. You got to get a mentor, someone to help you along. You a NASCAR driver too?
No, I like to drive fast. But that's a different thing. I get to spend a lot of time in national conversations, and I don't love to hear the things that people say about this city because they don't know.
Welcome to our conversation today. We're joined by a very dynamic individual, a man who is in charge of the Muny, an institution here in St. Louis. I'm Bonita Cornute, joined by Loren.
Hey, Bonita. Kwofe Coleman is the president and CEO of the Municipal Theater Association for the St. Louis Muny. He began his Muny career in 1998 as an usher, and he quickly advanced through the administrative ranks, including staff accountant, house manager, digital communication manager, manager of marketing, communication. He had every job at the Muny.
I've done a few.
You can't tell him I can't do that because he can tell you how to do it.
That's right.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, we have to ask, first of all, are there any particular challenges that you have faced stepping into that role as the first African American to head the organization?
Well, challenges, sure. I think we bring our identity to whatever we do. The Muny's had, I think, only 3 president CEOs before me. As you said, none of them have looked like me, and this is a community that pays attention to what you look like. So when you're running a major arts institution, we're a $20 million operation, and making sure people's comfort level has been interesting to observe. But challenges, nothing that I can't overcome, but definitely there have been some interesting moments where you have to educate people that your discomfort with my appearance does not disqualify me from doing this job.
Ooh, I like that.
But,
yeah, he's real smart.
So there have been a few of those. We had an interesting first season last year. We had a really diverse cast. We did The Color Purple, which was a production that we hadn't done before, and separating people's belief between what's an agenda and what's simply the reality of doing a good season was something I took on gladly. But yeah, there are learning moments for sure, not just for me, but for the people.
How much pushback did you have from, what I'm trying to say is how much do you have to say about what comes in and what gets played?
I mean, I have a team, but ultimately myself and the board and my artistic
You make the decision.
So
I'm going to bring The Color Purple in.
Yeah, I mean,
you have
myself.
any pushback on that?
No, not until
your nose is growing. Wait a minute.
No, you got me sweating. Was there pushback in the decision-making process? No. Once people start to see it, did some of them have an issue? Sure, but it's a remarkable show that's part of the musical theater canon of this country, and probably the best production we did. Yeah. I'm not supposed to have a favorite kid, but I do have a favorite kid of the season, and it was definitely The Color Purple.
Oh, wow. I can imagine, though, because it tells a significant story and an important story.
Yeah, not only that, but like you take the voices that were in it, the simplicity of the show, and its relevance to our specific community. It was an unbelievable moment. To be able to do that in my first season absolutely meant something special.
And you brought $100 million in?
I mean, not by myself. Yeah, so we did a capital campaign starting in 2017, and just to kind of set us up for the future. And we raised $100 million. $50 million of it we've already spent. But
was that unheard of? Was that unexpected?
It is unprecedented for a musical theater. Raising, but and I have to say something positive. That's a testament to the community, right? Mm-hmm. Like we didn't steal it. right? People gave us $100 million because they believe in the future of the institution and that it needs to exist for the next generation. And so, in that sense, it was great. It allowed us to remake the theater. It's 100 years old. It needed a facelift. At 100 years old, you do a little cosmetic surgery, and that's what we did. So we have a new stage.
New stage. I can see it from the outside. Some changes. I haven't been inside in a minute, and I apologize.
We have to fix that.
Yes, sir.
It's time. It's time. We have a new stage. We have a new orchestra pit, the administrative buildings, but the endowment's also what allowed, and an investment in the endowment that allowed us to keep everybody employed during the pandemic. It's what allows us to have a remarkable education program. So
that's what I hear a lot about.
Yeah, that's something that's growing. That's part of the future. To have that education program is certainly really an important part of who we're going to be.
When I think about the many productions that have come to that facility, I remember Porgy and Bess in particular. And then to hear you say last season we were at The Color Purple, it speaks volumes in terms of the variety of material that you're covering and that you're sharing with, even though both cover stories that are relevant to African Americans, but it's a contemporary versus the traditional.
Yeah. And I think everybody needs to see themselves on stage. Everybody needs to see their story on stage. And that's just not demographically by race or by wealth, or is a story relevant to your culture? Also, is it relevant to your age? Is it exciting to me, to my parents, to my grandparents, to the millennials younger than me? Our job is to make sure that that's everyone's theater. And the definition of everyone has to keep evolving. And that's my responsibility to bring I talked about my identity in the job. I get to help define what the word everyone means. And it's broader every day. It's supposed to be broader than it was before. And that has to be reflected in the stories we tell and how we tell those stories.
Talking about the stories we tell, name a few of the stories or plays you're going to have this season?
So we're going to open with Beautiful, the Carole King musical. A remarkable catalog of music that I think people really enjoy. It's somewhere between a show and a concert.
I like that.
We've got Beauty and the Beast. Anytime you can do something for kids, part of what we do is make sure that generations of people, this is part of their tradition, so we'll have that. Chess the Musical is a brand new one. I don't know a ton about it, but the musical theater lovers were truly, truly excited, so we've got that. Little Shop of Horrors is back. Wow. It's been a while since we did that. You got to have something a little bit weird, right?
That was a weird one, but I loved it.
What else do we have? West Side Story, Sister Act, and that's a season. That again, we try to touch on something for everybody.
Did you major in theater? I mean, what?
Oh gosh, no.
What?
My degree's in English and creative writing. No one wants to see me on a stage. I don't. That's not my area of expertise. I neither sing nor dance.
When you started and you were usher, and I know a guy, Ken Roberts, who used to work at the station with me, and he used to go and he worked at the Muny and talked about how he first started smoking cigarettes out there and the environment and the experience. When you started off ushering, did you ever think you would be running the Muny? I mean, was that something you had in your mind that you went for?
I will tell you, my third year working there, I appreciated what it was for the community. Not because I was like, oh, I want to run a musical theater, but I wanted to work in a place where everyone from the free seats and the box seats had the same experience. I met people, I made friends, I developed relationships in that place that I never would have if I was somewhere else. And so in that way, it's warm in here.
It is.
In that way, I had found a home of a place I wanted to be. And that's really how that started. So did I think I was going to run it? No. But did I want to stay there? Did I want that to be a part of who I was? Yeah. Did I want to work in a place that mattered in the community where we could hire 600 people every summer, where we could give opportunity? That mattered. That's what I wanted to do.
Did you have a mentor there?
Oh yeah, I would say Denny Reagan, my predecessor. Okay. We were friends more than colleagues, and he really showed me the path of what it meant to lead the institution in that generation and in that time, for sure.
Yeah, I hope you kids out there hear that. He had a mentor. You got to get a mentor, someone to help you along.
Yeah, how critical is that? I mean,
look, man, we cannot throw away history, right? So there's someone that's come before you. Someone has walked that path. It's not our job to duplicate it. I'm not going to be the same president Denny was. I'm not going to run the institution the same way. But if we don't build on the foundation, there's all the catchphrases: stand on the shoulders of giants, build on the foundation. Whichever one you want to use, you don't throw away history. When I'm doing a project at my parents' house with my dad, and he's telling me the way you used to do it with the hand screwdriver before the power screwdriver, there's logic there. You know what I mean? And you don't lose that. You certainly build on it. It's important to build on that. So so Denny was a mentor. I would say find someone that you believe in, that believes in you.
Talking about mentors and young people, it makes me wonder if you could explain a little bit more about the youth programs, what you do for young people. And there's a summer program there.
Yeah, so I would say this: we have the Crawford Taylor Education Initiative, and that's a new thing. So we are figuring that one of the investments you can make in the next generation is to give them opportunity. So we have programs that teach kids how to build stage sets and learn those trades. We have singing and dancing programs. We have education programs across the board so that these kids can find a pathway forward through theater, even if you don't end up on the stage. And that's an investment. We can be a theater, we can do shows, we can do that really well, but if we're not also doing something for that next generation of kids, what's the purpose of raising this money? What's the purpose of being here?
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. And you're raising, like you've already described, raising that money. And that's critical for what you're doing. Well, I know that you are not limited in terms of your skill and your connection in this community. Tell me a little bit about a project you're working on with Worldwide Technology.
Yeah, so with Worldwide Technology and the Raceway and the other arts institutions. So NASCAR has an annual race, and I want to tell everybody the truth. I don't know the first thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got a car?
You a NASCAR driver too?
I know I like to drive fast, but that's a different thing. But so we have this. There's what they call a Cup Series race, and Mr. Stewart had asked me to work together with some of the other arts institutions to put together music. So we have a Confluence Music Festival that goes alongside this race. NASCAR is one of the most viewed, one of the greatest spectator sports in the country right now. So we put together this whole, it's a festival, 4 stages, 40 bands, and it's an opportunity to bring top level talent, up and comers together so that we can use this platform of this race to showcase the breadth of music and the sense of community here. So we're going to touch all the genres. It's obviously mostly country.
Okay.
We've got Dylan Triplett. We got blues. We've got gospel. We're going to have B.B. Winans in. We got Dirk Bentley as a country artist. But we're going to have a little bit of everybody so that we can show the country and the world what St. Louis can do when we want to pull together top-level talent and use that platform to also showcase up-and-comers.
So how is it going to work? Like every night there'll be a different band, or throughout the day you'll have a couple of...
Every hour there'll be a different band. So for 3 days, we're going to rotate bands across 4 stages, and we'll have about 45 bands, I believe, over a 3-day span. And that's due to, again, the community, Mr. Stewart's generosity and the ability for the Muny and St. Louis Symphony Orchestra and Jazz St. Louis. We're all banding together to kind of make this happen.
Sounds like a major
undertaking. What did you do in that? What was your
I'm the producer.
You're a producer. Okay.
So a lot of this. Pulling groups together, talking to people, making sure that everybody kind of has the right scope. You know, I co-produced with a friend of mine, Mike Van He. He used to do Lou Fest, and and together we've just pulled this thing together, and we've hired bands and put the staging together, and here we are. It's year 2 of it, and it's a success.
Well, I can't wait to get to see some of that. I don't know anything about NASCAR, but I like to drive fast.
This year.
Yeah, I think we will.
Right.
I like to drive fast, and I have been curious about what all happens over there at that raceway. How busy is it? There's a lot going on.
It is a remarkably busy. You know, it's when you have that race going, it's kind of it's a circus, to say the least. But it's 100,000 people over 3 days. And again, NASCAR is not necessarily my thing or but it's a platform. There are 100,000 people coming out, and you use that to showcase again the strength of a city when you can.
Well, it's like one of those bull riding contests. You only go once, but you had a good time when you go that.
You've been to a bull? You've been bull riding?
Oh yeah. Well, I was shot it. You know, we videotaped it. Worked for people in the city of St. Louis.
Okay.
I worked at the one of the big races over there. Scariest stuff you ever want to do.
What are you talking about?
The race car thing.
Really? It's scary.
Yeah.
It's louder and faster than you've ever imagined.
Right, and it's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean,
it's very dangerous being that way they changing them tires and doing all that kind of stuff. You got a 3 or 4 man crew, one guy with a camera, guy with a microphone, guy like me shaking in the back, trying to make sure I don't get run over. Because it wasn't that important to me.
But it paid your bills.
Oh yeah.
But
it was exciting too. It was something new and different I had never done.
Okay.
And when I see it on TV, I said, those people are having some real fun over there.
You know, the thing you said about new and different, too, that's important at the track, but it's also important for the Muni. Not everyone's a musical theater fan.
Right.
You know, we bring 11,000 people out. I didn't grow up doing theater, but it's a new and different thing. We have to take those opportunities of moments and things we can be proud of in our city. We know that theater is one of one in the country. To have a racetrack that's named for one of the black billionaires in this country, it's a one of one.
Yes.
And so we have to unite our power and our resources to celebrate those things. I'm proud that I'm someone that Mr. Stewart called on to help put this together.
I like how he calls him Mr. Stewart.
Oh,
Call him David. Come on. Call him David.
I will not. I will not. That is Mr. Stewart or Sir, whichever.
I believe you.
But you know, you want to be able to answer that call for somebody.
You're right.
And say, look, he is a connector of people. He's a provider of opportunity.
People take his phone calls.
Yeah.
They better.
Yeah,
well, and because you know what, and we joke about it, but you take his phone call because it's going to be a chance for you to do right. It's going to be a chance for you to do well for somebody else. I've learned a lot just being in his orbit, and that's a really.
I'm sure for a young man that is a powerful thing to be in the orbit around.
It I mean, it is. It's also aspirational. You know, you get to say, okay, look, this is, and that's our job. You know, any of us who've gotten to anything, you know. Any of us sitting in this room, my parents, our families, like our job is for the kids that are growing up here to see that there's something that you can do, that none of the things that are out there that people believe are not for us
Right.
actually are. You asked me what it's like to be, what it was like in that first year as the black president of the Muny. It's a responsibility. I have to say to those kids that like, I'm not happy to be here. I'm not lucky to be here. I earned it. I did the job, and the same. If you work hard, I started working in the Muny when I was 16. You did. I think you listed all the jobs.
I did. I had to read them all.
Plus a few. But the truth is, if you work hard, there is a place to get to.
Yeah.
And we have to keep showing that, because I'm not convinced that we start to right some of the challenges that the next generation of the city faces if we don't give them not just directions of what to do, but examples and show them examples. And I think that's a really important thing. So, you know, I look at Mr. Stewart, that's someone for me, like that's
Mr. Stewart.
Yeah, I can't help myself, you know, but we all have to be that at some level for people.
Well, you know what? I'm going to just ask, based on your name, we have to wonder, you're not born and raised necessarily in North St. Louis or Milwaukee or Chicago.
Well, I was born.
You were born, but
born in St. Louis. So I'm first generation. My parents are from Ghana, so they moved here just before my oldest sister, who, as I mentioned to you, you interviewed. I don't want to date my sister, but it was a couple decades
How
ago.
about dating me?
Well,
you'd be dating me.
You are ageless. But my sister, however,
she's good.
But
ageless,
ageless, without a doubt. But so my parents moved here from Ghana. So I born and raised, grew up in Bellefontaine Neighbors. You know, we were blessed to grow up in a bilingual home. So, you know, all those to help with speech development and all those things. But we were raised in a really traditional Ghanaian household when we were kids. And you know, those values are something that were instilled in us. And my parents still live in Bellefontaine, same house I grew up in. I was over there yesterday to check in on them. But
wow, same house too.
Same house. Bellefontaine. You know, the neighborhoods change; they turn over. But I think they're the only family that was there from back in the day, I just turned 40, so I guess I'm in that. I can say things like back in the day now.
But do you think that cultural upbringing exposed you in a way that maybe some children are not exposed to theater and opportunity?
I believe, yes. I don't want to say that compared to another, everyone's opportunity, everyone's set of circumstances are their own. I will say that it was important to my parents that we believe the world was limitless for us.
Right.
And so experience everything. There's not something that, there are parts of history that they just didn't experience. They didn't grow up here. So things are felt available, accessible to us culturally in a way that maybe wasn't for everyone that looked the same. However, we were first generation, so we were not growing up in a situation of means. But my first experience at the Muny was in the free seats. I sat in the free seats. I didn't really know what I was going to. What was a musical wasn't even something that was extremely familiar to my parents or to me. So. But yeah, I think that cultural upbringing made us feel like anything was within reach, and you have to try. Everything's new, right? There aren't the familiar things. So like, what's more new or less new than the previous or next? Who knows?
That makes a difference, I think.
Yeah.
I think if people have that mentality, that way of thinking that everything is new, you might pick up on something that perhaps you wouldn't have considered in the past. Well, I guess I want to make sure that we've covered what you feel is critical and important in terms of what you're doing. Is there anything else that has your attention beside this big NASCAR event and your season coming up?
I would say number one, I'm trying to be a positive example. I get to spend a lot of time in national conversations, and I don't love to hear the things that people say about this city because they don't know it well, or because they only have they only have the CNN version or the TV version of it. And so I'm trying to represent what this community is and can be. I think that we're a community of people that we believe in ourselves from a standpoint of excellence. We just have to have more examples of that. And I'm trying to use the blessings that the world and the job has afforded me to try to make a difference and help. I don't want to just be a CEO of a theater. I want to be a person that used that position to hire kids, get them in the community, show them opportunity to experience art, show them opportunity to be an executive, all of those kind of things. Those are,
just going to ask
that's
you,
far more important.
Have you started a mentor program yet?
Myself?
For you to help you to mentor other people.
Informally, absolutely.
Okay.
But I think the beauty of the Muny is we get to hire so many kids, right? So I spend a little time I worked at the Muny continuously, but I spent 8 months working for the Southern Center for Human Rights when I was in college, and those were those people that were on death row that were wrongfully convicted, trying to get them off death row.
Oh.
And the most common thing, obviously, I was 20, I was 22, 23 at that point. All those clients looked a lot like me, but I had different opportunity, and that's a long way around saying that it's too late. Right, when they're into that system and you're trying to fix that. But if you can find ways to pull young people out of any of the pathways or tracks that might end them up there earlier, then I think you're making a difference. So yeah, I appreciate theater. I love what I do, but it's also an opportunity. Like I said, we're hiring out of this community 400, 500, 600 people. There's a bunch of them, 16 to 24 every summer. So if that means for 3 months of nights of the summer, they're not out in the street. They're not doing something else. They're learning. They're working. It's worth something. If I can look at them and say, that's what I used to do, and I ended up running this place. If you keep doing something like this, you can end up running a place like that. Then I think it's an informal mentorship. But I think that I have a far greater responsibility to do that than to, go into an office 9 to 5 and just say, this is what I'm doing.
It reminds me when you speak about prison efforts. I heard something on NPR. I was totally unaware of this. There's a prison theater project or something of that nature. And these are inmates who have written plays and they produce them, they stage them, and it's phenomenal the result that they get. I mean, the response from different people is very favorable. Are you familiar at all with any of that?
There is one in I think it's in Central Missouri. I want to say it's St. Joseph, Missouri,
Okay.
but don't quote. Somewhere in the middle it's where the map is very green when you look at it. But I am familiar. I think that theater and that expression of art for people, especially when you're incarcerated, right? It doesn't mean you no longer have a story to tell. It doesn't mean that you should mute that part of your expressiveness. So I think that is a really important part of that program, especially if you want to reduce your rate of recidivism. You don't want people to come back, right? So are you helping them develop while they're in the prison system? Also, creating theater by its very nature is a communal effort. You cannot there are very few one-person musicals, right? You can't do lights, sound, sing,
jokes,
dance, act,
too.
and
You
play
got
the
jokes.
music. No, I mean, I guess that's kind of, but the truth of it is there isn't. So if those programs also help people learn team building work. You asked about our youth programs and why we do so many. Whether or not a person that's a Muny kid or a teen ends up being a performer later is less important to us than if they learn the importance of community and working together. That skill set to be part of an ensemble. There's an ensemble on stage, but anything that there's an ensemble of people making this happen. This is an ensemble in and of itself. So the ability to work together in that way, theater is an avenue to teach that skill set or to develop it.
This is an ensemble, this ragtag ensemble we got going here.
I see nothing but stars. I see. They've saved me all day. I see nothing but leads. Walk-ons, no auditions.
No auditions. Walk-ons.
Walk-ons.
Well, I can say this: you're a very well-spoken young man,
I appreciate that.
and I'm gonna call you Mr. Coleman.
No, please.
I think he deserves it, Mr. Coleman.
No.
You send it to Mr. Coleman.
No, there's a
Even for me,
pantheon
I'm
of
twice
misters.
as
I
old
have
as you.
not made it into that, but they are.
You
Mr.
look
Coleman
forward
is
to
my
it.
father. Mr.
Yeah,
Coleman
okay.
is, and I will still refer to him as such as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, this has been a great conversation, and we appreciate your time. And just to give you an opportunity to share, when does the season start, and how do people purchase tickets, and what should they do if they're interested in getting their child into one of your programs?
Absolutely. Season starts June 12th. Purchase tickets. You can go to our website, muny.org, muny.org. We're selling season tickets right now. I'm going to try to not make this a major sales pitch, but I'm just going to say if there are 3 of the shows you want and 4 of them you're kind of interested in, you might as well buy a season ticket, experience them all, give the other ones away, make this part of your family's tradition. As far as the youth programs go, we run them different ones throughout the year. So the best thing to do is to visit the website. Right now we just finished the technical theater training program, and we're auditioning the kids and teens. But as the fall comes back, we also do programs for kids this isn't just for kids that have been singing and dancing their whole life.
Okay, yeah.
There are programs for people with my skill level, beginner to novice or whatever is below that. That's where my skill level registers for those things. But there are programs for everybody.
And the shows again.
We start with Beautiful, Beauty and the Beast, Chess, Little Shop, West Side Story, Sister Act.
I love that combination. It might be worth
something for everybody.
Yes, yes.
Season ticket. If you like 3 of them,
I do.
I want to get season tickets at the free seats.
I can get you a significant discount. I know a guy.
You know a guy. What's it? Mr. Coleman is his name.
I can
Mr.
make
Coleman.
a phone call. I'm happy to help.
That's very good.
Well, we appreciate the time, and thank you so much for sharing with us today. Loren, it's been a pleasure, and Mr. Coleman, it has been my honor and pleasure to be in your presence, and to know that I interviewed your sister when she was in grade school. That makes me feel really old.
Well, I didn't.
Ageless. Now she has aged, but no. I have to tell. I think I told you this before we got on. She and I told my mom I was doing this, and they were. I mean, my sister said this is the most important interview you're going to do. Maybe that's why I was so nervous in the beginning.
We
had him sweating, dude.
Yeah, it's really her fault. You're the presence of greatness here, you know.
He's talking about you, Bonita.
Collectively. So no, I appreciate this opportunity. You don't always get to tell the story of what you're doing from the angles that feel more personally relevant. So I do appreciate that opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you again. And we appreciate you for joining us. Loren Watt and I, Bonita Cornute, thank you for taking a minute to listen to Podcasting with Amin.